Hello, everyone. Welcome to Everything Iconic with me, Danny Pellegrino. I'm here with Anna Konkle, an Emmy Award-nominated star and creator of Pen15, which is one of my all-time favorite shows. You guys know that. She's in a new movie called The Drop on Hulu, which is out January 13th. Anna, how are you?
I'm great. Just a roof caving in. Just got over COVID and a stomach flu. Everything is perfect.
Was it over the holidays, the sicknesses?
It was pretty much through December, which I feel like a lot of people, I feel like everybody had the same story, but it was like COVID, and it was our first time with COVID, 10 days of it. And then and we have a toddler and she had it too. And we're like, okay, we finally got through it. And then the next day everybody was throwing up and I was like wiping a lot of bodily things from the bathroom floor. But anyway,
everything's a nightmare. We were just talking about our roofs off air, and we're gonna have to replace our whole roof, which is a nightmare. But it is what it is. I don't know. I always feel every single year in January, I feel like everything is crazy.
Yeah,
that's when everything tends to happen for me, and I always just think
everything good or bad.
Everything bad, like everything bad. Everything bad is like loaded into January, and then I have this weird thing where I'm not really, I believe a lot in like karma and balance and everything. And so I always just think when things are really bad, it's okay. Cause on the other side of it, hopefully it'll balance out.
That's what Maya said to me. Cause she said karma. And I was like, I know I must've done a lot of bad things. And then she corrected me and was like, no, the bad things happening now. You got a great year ahead of you. So I love that. You guys are.
I love that you and Maya are friends. I truly like Pen15 is like one of the all-time favorite. It's like that and The Comeback to me are like on the top shelf. So
I mean, come on. That's like the highest compliment to be anywhere near Lisa Kudrow's brilliance.
Anna, it is the same level of brilliance. Like I just rewatched the series finale last night to prepare for this interview, and I just blown away by it. Blown away. I mean, it's so heartfelt. It's so that finale like really hits you hard, especially the ending. And I mean, I was going to save these questions for the end, but did you know it was ending? Do you mind if I just ask you these quick questions?
No, of course.
Okay, yeah. Because I'm going to. Okay.
Yeah. No. Yeah, no, we had planned on, even though it's called the last season, they named 2B for like legal reasons, which we loved.
Wait, what were the legal reasons?
Frustrating. I think when we signed the contract for the second season, it was 15. It was for 15 episodes, and we had said like, so that'll be 2 seasons. We want to do, 7 episodes every season, and so we'll just film it all at once. It'll be budget-wise, it'll be cheaper. We can show run it all together, blocking it all together. Like, but there'll be 2 separate seasons, and we found out later that legally it was all being called season 2, and we were like, no, it can't be 15 episodes in one season. And we'd always talked about it being a 3-season arc. So we wrote, and it was going to be, they had said at the time that it would be named something else. And so it'd be like 3 chapters. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But we still wrote it as 3 seasons. And so, we knew that was going to be the last one, but we also wanted to leave some room for the future if that felt right again at some point, whether another episode or not, So
where are you at now with that? Is there a hope for more?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're both kind of we're open to it, and we're just kind of putting one foot in front of another with it. I mean, Maya just got done with filming Mr. and Mrs. Smith and was like traveling the world with, doing it. And I think, we just worked for so long with each other, being, every day for 15 hours, just talking shit, but mostly talking what act 3 isn't feeling right. Just like such high stakes intensity of being business partners really, and creative partners and family and best friends. And it was like, let's put our creative energy into some other things, see how it feels, and like give our friendship the time to be. And we always promise that of each other that like our friendship comes first, because it gets hard. You're like doing everything together. So I think it was the right decision. I definitely miss it at times, but I also am just like energetically, it'll happen again when it's meant to, and if it's meant to and stuff.
I feel like with The Comeback, like I mentioned, she took 9 years in between 2 seasons, and I'm still holding out hope that she comes back for another one. But
oh my God, yes, please.
I kind of just like I trust you both, and I trust her. It's like I trust you all to know when to come back, but also that we need you back. And so I'm so happy to hear it's like sort of hopeful. I wonder, would the thought be to stay in middle school, or would it be to like go to high school or something? Or
I mean, we've talked about different kind of continuations of Pen15, but in a different frame, and kind of playing with, because, the original idea is sort of experimental. And in a way, when we were originally pitching it, people were like, yeah, good luck. Like, make it a weird Brooklyn play. Like, don't, this is not going to be marketable in TV. And so I think we're just going to keep, if there's more, I think we probably keep walking that path and go like, how do we push this idea even further? At the same time, high school feels like just focusing on high school feels too easy, just in the sense of they're in purgatory.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But then it's also really exciting to watch the 13-year-olds in them continue to progress, when that was the idea from the beginning, that at like 35, she's still so alive in me. I just hide it better now, a little better. And there it was, you're just like playing that character so fun, because it's just raw, like trying not to drown, in all its rawness. So I don't know.
I mean, I feel like us fans of the show are obsessed with it in a way. Do you find that? I mean, more so, I think maybe it's because it is so off the beaten path or something. We almost, I don't know. I just feel like fans of Pen15 are like obsessed with it. Yeah.
There's definitely a club where you either meet somebody that's, has absolutely no idea who I am, never will, like not their brand of humor, or a lot of people have said, I had to turn it off. Like, congratulations, but I had to turn it off. Or even calling it cringe comedy. Like, I don't mind it, but I don't relate to it because I'm not cringing. I think part of the goal was how I felt reading memoirs and David Sedaris and feeling seen through the fucked upness of it all and the humor that the author found through the trauma. Like, that makes me feel less alone, So I think our club of people are like, there were mirrors for each other. You know what I mean?
And not to bring it back to gay people, but I also feel like gay people really appreciate it in a way, because I feel, and any maybe sort of othered people who have gone through those traumatic experiences, and they're able to relate to it. And I think oftentimes when you go through a trauma like that, there are a couple of ways to look back at it. You can laugh at it and find the growth and everything from it. And, or you could just want to like out of sight, out of mind. So maybe some people are just like, yeah.
No, I've definitely heard people say, in a way that I relate to, like excavating, memories in therapy or something, that like just starting to watch it or talk about that age made them feel nauseous.
Mm-hmm.
There's like I do think, and I don't know why I don't have it at that age, even though it was a really hard time for me, even more so than what's on the show, but where our body blocks out that time where so much is changing, and there's a lot of outcast rejectness that's like amplified in us. And for Maya and I, for some reason, it was just so visceral, and remembering like the minutia to a conversation for some reason. And yet I can't remember like yesterday's conversation. In fact, I'm at my office right now, and I just went downstairs to say, like, DoorDash dropped off my lunch. Thank you. And I took the wrong person's food. Like, I'm just always messing up like that. And yet my memory of like an AIM conversation is like verbatim. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. I love it.
Trauma.
I am so thrilled though, to just hear that there even is a possibility of it. Because I was going to beg you here on this podcast. I know you directed the animated special, right?
Yeah. That was a tough one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can only imagine, especially it was like height of COVID and stuff. But
right.
I was going to beg you to do, if you didn't want to come back, I was going to say we need the animated version of it, because that would also be lovely. And
I mean, I feel like it'll find, if it's meant to be, and there's like you said, if there's sort of a genuine story still to be told, and it's not just for the sake of, you know, doing it, then we'll do it. And that's exciting. And I hope that's what happens.
That makes me so happy. Look at this smile.
Oh, you're so kind.
Because I was just ready for me to be like,
ready. Yeah,
we're done.
You never know. I don't know, but I hope so.
No, but I'm taking it as confirmation. But also us.
Maya's going to call me after and be like, you said absolutely.
Yeah, like it's happening now. I also always had this fantasy of like I know one of the characters, one of those classmates was gay, and sort of like his story, and I so related to that. And I was like, I would love to see that explored more too, because I think that era as a person in the closet, I think is really ripe for the picking too, because, I was just talking to a friend about Abercrombie, and like going into an Abercrombie was so traumatic as a closeted gay boy, and like seeing the bags and then also like the body dysmorphia part of it. I mean, I don't know. There's so much there.
Yeah. All the different sort of other people, and it is endless of the horror and comedy of what is the costume that you wore, and how shitty was the costume. How much did the thing you were trying to hide come through? And that's the sort of the sadness and the hilarity of it. You know what I mean?
I was just telling a friend about talking about it on the show, but I remember going to a karaoke night in Northeast Ohio, and I was a teenager at this time, but it was like the time of American Idol where you kind of they convinced us all that we were like able to sing or something, and I ended up, long story short, doing like my version of a Jewel song. Do you remember that song, Hands? Like, it's a really dramatic song. She's like, "These hands are small, I know," or whatever. And I I performed it at a karaoke night, but like in my head, I was like doing an interpretation of it too. So I thought I looked straight or something. And I'm looking back now and I'm like, no, you were doing a Jewel song with a skinny scarf. I mean, it was just crazy.
I want to be your friend then. And now
we're friends. We are friends. No.
Okay, perfect.
But so we talk about this trauma and also Pen15 fans in general. I just mentioned how we feel such a connection to you guys after that. And so it's so exciting, I think, for us to see you flourish in other projects. And I got to watch The Drop early. Hulu sent it to me, and my boyfriend watched it with me, but he didn't know anything about it. He hadn't seen the trailer, and they had sent it early.
Right.
And I didn't want to tell him anything because I had watched the trailer. And it was so funny to watch his reaction, because this movie, I'm not spoiling it. It really is launched because your character drops your friend's baby. Right. And I think this is like such a universal thing that happens, but to see and hear his gasp when it happened, it was so funny. And like, he just had no idea what was coming. He thought this was just like a friend vacation movie. He didn't even know the title.
That's ideal. Did he laugh after, or was he like, no?
Oh, he had it was that kind of gasp laugh. So it was both.
Okay,
it was like
that's the dream.
And then he just started cracking up, but he had no idea it was coming. It was that surprise. And so anyone out there, if you want to watch it with a significant other or some friends, don't tell them anything about it. Just watch their face. This happens very early on in the movie. But tell me about getting involved in that. And then obviously the thing that you're asked probably the most is were you ever dropped? Did you know someone who dropped someone? Right. All that kind of stuff.
This is going to sound psychotic. It does to me now looking back. But I was 3 months postpartum when this offer came in, and they were filming in a week and a half. So they were like, and I think someone had just dropped out. I mean, full disclosure. And they were like, can you come to the jungles of Mexico? And my first reaction was, no, I have a 3-month-old. And then I spoke to the director, Sarah Dina Smith, who was 8 months pregnant. And she was really just encouraging, because I was pumping every 3 hours, for breast milk. And there wasn't electricity in a lot of the you just clarified breast milk, and I was just thinking, what if you had said you were pumping 3 hours, pumping iron or something? I was right. I don't know why I was pumping. In my contract is just gotta stay jacked, obviously.
I'm sorry I interrupted.
No. Well, I'm realizing that some people don't know what that is, which is insane. I knew so little I want to tell you every detail that you don't want to know about pumping breast milk, because it was just, the amount that I feel after being pregnant, going through birth, having a child that is not talked about. I mean, we all know, but it's just the continuation over and over that like our problems are not to be discussed or whatever, or our joys, or I don't know. Anyway,
yeah.
Go on.
So you were pumping on set, like in between takes?
I'd have like,
oh my God,
a towel most often. And eventually it was like, whatever, everyone can just, this is life, people. This is what's happening. But it was pretty amazing that the production was willing to stop filming every 3 hours. And so when they said that, it felt important. And it was, to me, to prove to myself that I could keep working in a way, like as my vagina is healing, and what, and also the idea that motherhood could be like R-rated and comedic, because so often it feels so saccharine. Mm-hmm. And I'm grappling with that with myself in general and my point of view on things. And so, it just kind of came together at the best and worst moment, maybe.
And when you initially got the script or the idea for it, mm-hmm. was there something that it sparked in you, like a memory or something? Or I
was dropped. I remember it clearly. No.
But I mean, like, has that ever happened to anyone you know or so? I mean, it's such a common thing. Yeah.
Yes, I do think it's really common. It's funny how often I've been asked that, but people being like, couldn't possibly. And I keep being like, no, this happens a lot. I have plenty of friends that have accidentally, obviously dropped their child. And it does feel like a lovely metaphor for parenthood, or life in general, of just like, you're doing your absolute best and you're going to drop the baby sometimes, I mean, my first memory, how many memories do I have of this? No, my first memory, I was probably in 3rd grade and I started babysitting probably in 3rd grade. This maybe would have been, I was doing like Mother's Helper. Have you heard of that? It was like $5 an hour or something. The mom would be there and I'd watch. And in fact, I remember watching like a 2-year-old and a newborn. It's probably in 4th grade. And she was like, I'm going to go to the grocery store. You sure? Anyway, my cousin, who I met once, this one time, it was like my second cousin, was a baby, came to our house, and I loved babies. And I was like, can I take him up to my room? And he crawled off the bed. I was a great sitter.
And like, what do you do at that moment? You're just...
I was like, I ruined this child's absolute sheer panic. I still think about it all the time, to be honest. It's like one of those memories that means something that I keep thinking about it, and I like need to talk about in therapy next week now.
I babysat a kid who had a seizure and I was young. I was like probably, before I had my license, I was babysitting. It was the next door neighbor. And I remember I didn't know what to do and then
Did you know that there was epilepsy in the situation, or that could happen?
I found out late, like afterwards, they were like, oh, this happens, or this has happened before. But I was like, oh, I didn't know that this happened. Why didn't somebody tell the 14 or 15-year-old who was watching this child?
Parenting was a lot chiller then. Yeah. Like now I'm sort of grappling with, I've been like hearing parents talk about how they don't say no to their kids. There's that whole philosophy of, which I know nothing about, so I shouldn't criticize it. But my first feeling is like, you just never say the word no. That seems really hard and overkill. And then I think of, I broke my leg when I was 4. I broke my wrist when I was 2. I don't know. Things happen. I'm okay.
I think about, my dad always had a cigarette with him. Always. Like now, my dad too. I feel like you're judged if you smoke a cigarette, and he doesn't smoke anymore, but it was like he smoked. I have a very vivid memory of him being my first base coach in Little League. And he just was coaching first base with his cigarette, and the other dads had like their beers watching, and it was Norton. Everyone.
Where did you grow up again?
It was Northeast Ohio.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. My dad, I'm from Vermont originally, and our group of friends were hippies. I have to imagine they were smoking weed. My dad grew weed, and then he smoked cigarettes all the time. And I remember him also like driving my friend home. One memory of this, but had like a beer in the car, and me, like just not advocating for any of this, but the vibe was just,
that's normal. Mm-hmm.
It was just chill. And then we moved to Massachusetts, and still no one really, I don't remember the other dads smoking, but there were lots of other issues going on.
Yeah. Do you remember your first time smoking weed then? Like, was it sort of supervised by your parents or something?
No, in fact, it was kind of a secret. Like, I knew that there were all these stories of like what a sort of extreme hippie he was. And I knew that he had lived in a van and fled the draft and was doing acid and stuff, in his 20s. And then, but and he was a carpenter and a hippie. And then he was a human resource manager for 7-Eleven. That was like so that was like, okay, that's old dad. New dad is like, in a suit going to work, getting me a free Slurpee every once in a while, which I would like tell everybody. And then, so it was just and then when I was raised in sort of this conservative town when we moved to Massachusetts, and I realized it was like a beautiful mind. All the pieces went together that he had been growing weed in the garden. And I was so angry looking back. It's, him and my mom had divorced. He was dating someone new. He wasn't around for the holidays. I was just angry in general. Mm-hmm. And I remember I had heard him say, "I love you" to his new girlfriend, which should be normal. But I was like pissed. It just felt like you should be with my mom, even though that was, therapy. It wasn't right.
It was a betrayal.
And then I realized that he'd been like hiding the weed and the catnip in the garden, and it had just been there my whole life. And so I remember driving up, picking it, ripping it apart and leaving it on the kitchen counter. And I left, like, so passive aggressive, and he never said anything. And then I finally was like, "I know you smoke weed and grow it."
Like his parent.
And I don't know. And I was in college at the time. It was like way too late for me to be mad about it. But I think it was the idea of a secret. You know what I mean? And then I got over it.
I saw you talking about your mom on Kimmel, I think it was. And I also read this interview that you did. And I had to ask you, because we talk a lot about Housewives on this show, The Real Housewives. And you had said something like you were maybe watching Housewives with your mom.
My mom once said, "I'm obsessed with Housewives."
Okay.
All of them.
Everything.
I know everything. Although I mess up names sometimes. My mom once walked into me like I'm peeing or something, watching reality shows. And I think it was Real Housewives of New York, classic. And like Ramona, it was like an old Ramona Sonia moment. And she was like, now I get like, this has like a Pen15 vibe to it. And I was horrified. And then I felt great about it later.
Ramona has the same vibe.
Ramona Sonia, like there's something about if like Maya and Anna took weird turns, they could end up there.
Oh my God.
Like 100%. Like the old, like Bethany, like the last Bethany season where it was like everything was in Dorinda's house falling apart.
The good old days.
And Sonia goes back in her chair, which I didn't know my chair goes back that far.
Anna, wait, I don't know if
classic.
I don't know if you know this, but when I did my book tour in March, I stayed at Bluestone Manor for a night. I slept in the fish room. The most wild
with Dorinda thing. I mean like
it was in Dorinda. Yeah, Dorinda like she made dinner for me, and I stayed there for the night. It was the best night of my life. And I'll take all the secrets to my grave, but it was I felt like I was living in a show.
Okay, so you won't share the.
I mean, it was just like what you would think it would be. I mean, no one else, it wasn't like other housewives were there. It was just Dorinda and a few other friends. But she was the best host ever. And the house was so gorgeous, better, I think, in person than it looks on TV. Much more sturdy.
Got it.
Yeah.
So I have been, this is so embarrassing, but I made my first Reddit comment, which no one liked. That maybe one person about the Heather black eye. I'm sure you've been.
Yeah. What do you think about it? Yeah.
I think her and Jen hooked up.
Okay.
Is this a common? Because everyone. I feel like no one's talking about that, and I don't know. I feel such a strong instinct.
Well, I can tell you this will air after the finale airs, but I have seen the finale and somebody else does come up with that theory too. It's like a theory.
But is there an answer?
No, there's no answer. And it's so fucking frustrating because don't you feel like...
No, come on.
Yeah, don't like give us an answer about this whole thing. I think it's like a storyline on the next season of Ultimate Girls Trip too, because Whitney and Heather are on that. From what I hear,
that should be illegal within the franchise. Like you can't take a storyline and continue it through a different franchise and not tell us a different show.
I feel like they should have had to edit it out.
I want to boycott it.
I know.
So what do you think?
I don't know. I think
you have a theory. Stop.
I think it was I think it was. No, I don't know. No, from actually the only thing that I do know from people like who have worked on it or whatever is like that they don't know. Like that they're frustrated that they don't know. Does that make sense?
The thing that Heather's doing, who I love, but who's been like, yeah, I got it. And then she's like, I have one. I have a black eye. What? Mm-hmm. I said this to my friend Jessie. I felt scared. Like I truly, it ignited something in me that was, I don't know, gaslighting or what. And the opening to one of the episodes a couple weeks ago that was like the found footage, and I felt like someone was breaking into my house. Like I got very paranoid. The whole thing, it's freaking me out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very unsettling. And I don't like the dichotomy of like, we all know what happened and you know what happened. But I don't want to talk about it. And it's like, well, don't bring it up if we're not talking about it. And then I do feel like they should have edited it out. If they got through the whole season and like we still don't have any answers, then I wish they would have, I don't know, couldn't they have CGI'd her eye or something like that?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to see it then. Because now I'm just frustrated.
Or keep your glasses on and she could be like, I'm so sick. Hungover. I gotta go home. Like it feels very like attention-y in a way that I don't associate with what I've known of Heather.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's also creeped me out so much because
Heather was always the stable. She's our friend, and she feels like she feels like a stable presence on the show. And now it's like, well, what are we watching? Yeah.
Right.
Do you want Mary back, or what do you do you think? Should they bring Mary back?
Really mixed feelings about Mary. I would. The show's better with Mary, don't you think?
Yeah, I want Mary back.
Yeah, Mary back.
Yeah, I miss being in her closet so much.
Yeah, me too. But the interactions with her family / people that work for her, real freaky, real deeply. That one. I mean, I've Googled her a lot. I've gone down holes. Yeah.
The Reddits on her, I'm sure, are chilling.
Endless. Do you ever go on those Reddit? I like discovered it as though it started last year. No, I had no idea this underworld was going on.
I know there's like a whole thing. I'm sort of scared of it because I'm scared somebody will say something about this show, about this podcast or something. And I'm like, I don't want to.
That's
I don't even want to.
You don't want to get in.
I'm like scared I'll see something.
Totally. No, I know.
And also become addicted.
I know. Yeah, I don't really go on Twitter. And so it's because I'll sometimes want to gauge, this is so weird, but is my perspective in line with the majority's perspective, which I mostly find it's not. Like whoever's driving me crazy or whoever is my best friend that week, or I'm like curious about it. And I'm so often, this is so embarrassing, but there was a season when Kelly Dodd was still on. Is she still on?
No, she's off.
Bye. And this is kind of dark, but it was this season where she was like using, in the reunion, she was like using kind of Shannon's I know I sound like such.
I love it. You're at the right place, Anna.
Okay, perfect. Shannon's relationship with David, like against her, and the rumors that like Shannon texted Vicky, like it just getting dark about what their relationship looked like and abuse or not abuse or whatever. And like shaming the victim, essentially, that I was basically hallucinating at 2 a.m. seeing this. I was so mad. And I was trying to find a Bravo. This is the most embarrassing thing I could ever share. I was trying to find a Bravo email address to write to online about Kelly She's like going to come after me to be like, this is unacceptable. Like this is crossing a line. I watch every show this cross line. I finally found tech support at bravo.com. And in a fit of rage, I emailed them. And I found the email recently. It's like illegible and psychotic.
Did they respond?
So that's a little
back?
look into my personal life. What's
Did they
that?
respond back to you? Did you get?
No.
Yeah.
No. I hope it's printed out on someone's wall and like under like ultimate loser Real Housewife fans.
Wait, Anna, have you been on Watch What Happens Live? We need you on Watch What Happens Live. Okay.
Maya and I were bartenders on it. And like right before Pen came out, and Stassi was on, and they let us ask her a question. And I said, what's the relationship like with your mom now? Like, it was like lighthearted and da-da-da-da. And then I asked a question that clearly I'd be into, like, I like loop into the, saddest storylines or not even sad, but just, whatever, what's not being talked about enough. And I felt, I don't know if it was in my head, but I was like, oh, I asked the wrong question. Like, I brought the vibe to a different place. And I still think about it.
We need you back there because I didn't know you were a Bravo fan, and now I'm obsessed that you're on Reddit.
I mean, what do you think of? You want to talk about Bravo?
What do you think about Rinna leaving?
I have mixed feelings about it. I mean, I have really mixed feelings about the whole last Beverly Hills. What do you think?
I think she needs a little breather. I'm hoping she comes back at some point, but I think she's given us so much throughout the years, and I think she played the villain role well. But the last couple of seasons, it hasn't been like a fun villain to me. It's been like, just in my opinion, I feel like it's been a little too much.
Is Erica still on?
Yeah, she's going to be back. I'm sure.
I mean, that'll be interesting. That's what was surprising with Rinna too, is like how united to an extreme in a way that you wanted to think Rinna kind of will go off on her own when she needs to. That was what was sort of refreshing about her, is like, you never know what she's going to do, like loyalty wise. And then she kind of made this hard, twin move with Erica, which was sort of interesting.
Yeah, and I think we need to change up the dynamics a little bit. So I'm hoping this does, but they're going to have big shoes to fill. So,
right, I know that's where I'm at. Who do you think they're going to bring in?
I just saw a headline about Nicolette Sheridan, which is exciting to me. However, it would be more exciting with Rinna there, like because she has a history with her.
True. Maybe they'll bring Rinna back the next season, and then they'll duel.
Yeah, I have this fantasy of Terry Hatcher too. During COVID, I mean, talk about dark times. I got in this like where I was watching Terry Hatcher's YouTube channel, and it was like very dark stuff because it was just her setting up a camera in her kitchen and like cooking things, and no one else was there. It was just like her, and she would be like, "It's the middle of the night. I couldn't sleep, so I'm gonna make, chocolate chip cookies." And it was a lot, but really funny.
Love that.
But I was like, oh, I'd love to see her on there. And maybe if it was Nicolette and her, let's just make it Desperate Housewives at that point.
Love it. That also makes me think of Kim Cattrall. Am I saying
would love Kim Cattrall on there.
Did you ever see the scatting
the best
YouTube
video on the internet? Yama Kippa Yabo.
Thank you.
Yama Kippa Yabo.
Of course you can quote it. Maya and I used to do that to each other all the time. It's a zippity dido. And then like there's a dog in it, right?
I think so. Yeah. It's so one of the most bizarre videos ever. And I always go back to that every time like the feud is sort of reignited in the press between her and Sarah Jessica Parker.
Right.
Whenever I read about the feud, I'm always siding with Kim Cattrall, but then I go back to that video and I'm like, well, what kind of normal person does a video like that? And so so then I honestly believe like that's what keeps the feud going, is because the people who have seen that video can't reconcile being Team Kim Cattrall when they remember that video. Am I making sense?
Oh, absolutely makes sense. But it makes me Yeah, no, you're right. I've kind of gone back and forth with it where it's like, whoa, the weird in her is so alive, and like the not caring, that maybe that kind of alludes to her being really fun and lovely, but like, you know, that's a little simple. Do you think she'd ever do?
No. And I'm depressed about it. I'm depressed about it. I'm depressed that they'll never have her back, or it seems like we've just gone past the point of no return of her coming back to and just like that, or doing a cameo or something. And that makes me upset because I'll watch every episode of it just like that. Even when it's terrible, I love it. And I'm upset they won't get her back.
But do you think she would ever be on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills? Does she live in Beverly Hills or in LA?
I don't know where she lives. I feel like probably not Beverly Hills, but I feel like she's probably somewhere odd. I feel like she's somewhere just that we would never expect her to be. I don't know where that is.
Not Topanga, but like,
I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if or I was like Reseda, or like we all of a sudden find out she's in San Diego or something, and she commutes here for How I Met Your Father or whatever the fuck she's doing. Am
I crazy? I want her on Beverly Hills.
Anna, I know I got to let you go because I've been talking too long.
No, I love this.
What do you want to, what's next for you? I mean, us Pen15 fans just want you and Maya to take over the world and do everything. But what do you kind of hope to do? What are your hopes and dreams?
My hopes and dreams. I'm trying to figure that out. It sounds so earthy, crunchy of me, but I'm trying. It's really weird. I mean, I'm so lucky, but to gotten to work on like our baby for so many years, and to make a choice to sort of like explore it again it's unnerving. And I like keep reminding myself that I'm just getting so therapy with you, but like have to be willing to fail, like I felt with Pen, that it wasn't about, you know, success or something at the time of making it. It was about like really it's so corny, but finding happiness in my work. And if I was going to keep acting or writing or whatever, and through it, I found a real love of both, but even more so writing. So right now I'm very slowly writing my memoir. I am working on a feature and a TV show, and just putting one foot in front of another. I was just in After Party, which will be on Apple in a couple months, and that was interesting. So, and the show and the movie and are both, the memoirs more Pen15-y, but like adulthood. But those other things that I'm doing are really different. And so I'm kind of trying to just be like, hopefully this is a long career. And if not, I'm going to try everything along the way. You know what I mean?
Directing, do you want to direct more?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay, good.
The feature is with that in mind. And,
good.
And I love show running. So I'd love nothing more than to just like show run a show that I love again, you know, and find freaky characters for Maya to do.
The memoir, when can we expect? Is that this year, next year?
It's a slow, probably a year, okay. I would guess, if things, if I can get it together.
Well, Anna, in the meantime, we have The Drop, which is on Hulu, January 13th. I'm such a huge fan of you. I just think you're the smartest, funniest, best person ever. So thank you for all that you've given the world. And
thank you.
I got to go attend to my roof leak, but thank you for taking
the time. Godspeed.